Good afternoon. I'd like to share with you a shocking explanation of Rabbi Chonan Wasserman concerning the sale of the brothers of Yossef, of their brothers to the Midianim, according to one group of Mefarshim. Rabbi Chonan Wasserman, Hashem Yankom Damo, he was killed in the Second World War. He was killed by the Nazis. He posed this following question. He said, how is it possible that from time immemorial there were people who contended, who claimed that Jews take the blood of Christians and they mingle it in matzot, and they use the blood of Christians in order to make matzot. And you know, this was such a serious libel that it's unbelievable. In the Shulchan Aruch, there's at the time of the Taz lived in the 17th century, 16th century. He brings down in Lacha that even though on the night of the Seder that we have to have always red wine, as we know, it's preferable to have red wine instead of white wine. So he says that in his times we shouldn't have red wine in a place where we are concerned that maybe there'll be a blood libel, so a person should take to the Seder night a white wine instead of a red wine, so not to give ammunition to the enemies of the Jewish people that they say, oh, you saw something which was red at the Seder table, that's the blood of Christians that were used on the night to make matzot and to celebrate Pesach. The Rabbi Chonan says it. Have you heard anything so absurd? Every single person knows that in the Bible, that 36 times the Torah says you're not allowed to eat blood, you're not allowed to taste blood, you're not allowed to drink blood. 36 times this tzivui, this injunction happens. So how could people have such a libel? How could they promulgate such a lie which flies in the face of reality? I mean, we've got a saying in English that there's no fire, no smoke without fire. But over here, on what basis? What basis was there that there, in history, for hundreds and hundreds of years, even until this modern time, there are people who have got no shame to accuse the Jewish people of killing Gentiles for their blood for the night of Pesach. So Rabbi Chonan says in his works, he says, I want to say an explanation. And the explanation to him even is so shocking that he says, and if I'm not correct, may God forgive me. That's how, as a prelude, that's his preface to the words that he's about to say. So Rabbi Chonan says, you know why there's such a libel? Because the first people to lie about blood and to make a blood libel were the brothers of Yossef. When they sold their brother into slavery, and then they took his coat, and they took the coat and they dipped it in the blood of a goat, and they came to their father and they said over here that they lied, that over here, do you realize that whose coat this is? That was the first blood libel that there was in history. The first time in history that someone took blood and lied brazenly, and in such a tragic manner, to take brothers, to sell them into slavery, and then to come to a poor father, and to lie about the tunic and the blood of their brothers, that was the first libel that happened in history. And he says the Jewish people, because of this libel, they suffered for years because of this tragic sinat chinam, which was done in this way to the brothers by the brothers of Yossef to Yossef. And I'd like to say that to add on to what Rabbi Chonan says, although it doesn't need any addition. Sometimes one is just like staggered by, on the international arena, the brazenness of the enemies of Israel. Like most recently, how could it be? We ask ourselves, how is it possible that people in the United Nations, the world over, could get up and say that Ma'arat HaMachpelah, which is the cradle and the foundation of the Jewish people, that all our forefathers are buried there. How did it ever happen that people who also embrace the Tanakh, the whole Christian world, how do they allow people to get up and say such an absurdity and libel that the Jewish people have got no connection to Ma'arat HaMachpelah? You want to know? I want to say that, like Rabbi Chonan, and if maybe there's a kitrug, and I want to prosecute, so to speak, the Jewish people, and my word should be forgiven. But I think that the principle that Rabbi Chonan is saying, if people could say over here that Marat Machpelah is not really ours, and that we should give it back to the Arabs, and that for the sake of peace you can sell the grave of your mother and your father. If people can say such a thing, if people can themselves not have any connection between Marat Machpelah, the place where their fathers and mothers are, so then it's no wonder why in punishment that then HaKadosh Baruch Hu brings about the enemies of Israel, that they should say this absurdity that there's no connection between the Jewish people and Marat Machpelah, Chas v'Chalila. So we learn from these two examples, that how careful we have to be to say the truth as it is, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu Yechaper Avon, that we should be zocher to fix up the chet of Am Yisrael, and also the chet of the connection to Eretz Yisrael.